got a big crowd here today. Welcome. My name is Alex Gladney Lemon. I work over at NASA Johnson Space Center. I'm an education coordinator, and the best way I could describe a little bit about me and a little bit about my NASA story real quick is that many years ago, I started at Lane Community College, which is in Eugene, Oregon, and I took my basics there. Not the full 2 years. I think I took like a semester, 2 semesters, maybe so long ago I can't remember. I think it was just a semester. But I stayed there for extra semesters to play golf because they had, I could take golf repeatedly and keep transferring it in for credit. So that made, and it was cheaper to play golf there than it was to play golf at the university. That came in handy. But then from there, I became a math teacher. Taught high school math for 10 years. And then my daughter went to a birthday party at a new neighborhood that we just moved into. And they all happened to, about half of them worked for NASA in the education department. And they said, come on in. And I said, yes, please. And so I applied and happily got there about 3 years ago. So 3.5. I'm about to start my fourth, just started my 4th year. So my NASA anniversary is August 22nd. So there's not many jobs in the world that you remember the day that you start. So anyway, I look forward to talking to you guys about how to create team norms. And with me today, I have my colleague over at Armstrong, Lisa Mitchell.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa. And just like Alex, I also started at a community college. I began my education at College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California. And it's one of our schools that come to NCAS. And then I went on to Cal State Northridge and I got my degree in biology. It took me a little bit longer. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So it took me about 8 years to get my bachelor's degree. And then I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I went on to become a teacher when my kids were grown up a little bit more. And I decided I want to pursue a career at NASA. I've always wanted to work at NASA. And it took me 2 years, but I finally did make it. And my NASA anniversary is September 3rd, last year. So I've been here for just 1 year.
Thank you. Oops, I'm gonna make sure I lost. You can hear me. All right, great. I was just saying I lost my mute mic, if I can mute or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the presentation because we have a little bit of time, and then we are gonna need the breakout rooms. So in a little bit, when we get about 5 or 6 minutes from now, we'll need it. But just to let you know, let me share my screen. Maybe if my computer will work. There it goes. Let me share the presentation. There we are. Okay. All right. So we already gave you our overview of who we are. This is teamwork, making the dream work. So first is let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go ahead and get your take a little poll with you guys, or talk to you guys a little bit about what your experience with teamwork is. Next, we're going to go ahead and tell you about what our team norms. Then this is the part when we get here to the guided practice where we're going to get you guys into breakout rooms, and you guys are going to work on establishing team norms. And we're going to pretend that you guys who are in the breakout room are in a team, and so creating these norms. We're going to do a little bit of reflection to see what you guys thought of the process and maybe how you can translate it to what you do. And at the very end, we're going to talk about some opportunities that you can insert yourself with NASA. I was listening to the keynote speaker earlier today, I believe Farissa, and she lets you know about trying to find internships and stuff. And so we'll show you the stepping stones before you get to an internship, some different opportunities that you can do to get yourself in a better position to get one of those NASA internships. So with that being said.
So we're going to start off with your experiences, especially in community college. I know when I went to community college, we did a lot of projects and group work. So I'm curious to know, what are some of your experiences that you've had working with a team? If you go ahead and raise your hand, we can call on you and ask you to share some of the things that you've experienced while working with a group.
If I raise your hand, do you mean it's a button somewhere?
You can just go ahead and tell us your experience.
So I've experienced in my computer science classes, every once in a while we have projects and they're group projects. So just working together on different projects, figuring out who does what, things like that.
Okay. And what was it like working with people on that project?
I did most of the work. So, and I know that's probably not the way to go about when you're doing group work. But it's just, you got to understand that people are at different levels of doing different things. So sometimes I do think it's important to kind of realize where people are at different levels and then seeing how they can contribute for that.
That's a good point. Thank you for sharing.
And then Eduardo, your hand is up.
Oh, yes. I was actually in a internship at Cal Poly called the Summer Undergraduate Research Experience Program. And it was just a bunch of community college students that wanted to get a experience on how to do research. So how we were put in is that we were put in groups of three people. And I was lucky enough for it to be like kids that were from my school, from Citrus College. And the research experience that we were supposed to do is how to figure out on finding how to conserve rainwater. And so we had a professor that was like, he was a civil engineer, and like explain us how it works and everything like that. And honestly, I had a pretty good experience in like teamwork experience, because since we all knew each other, we all had like really good chemistry with each other, and we all worked together every day. And I believe like having a good teamwork is talking to like each other every day, like is making sure that nobody else gets left behind, that we're all like in the same pace. And we finished writing a research paper about it, and we felt pretty good when we finished doing our research paper.
Awesome.
Okay, so what I hear you say is that you had a really good experience because you all knew each other and you could communicate well.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Peter, you're next. So what was your experience like with the team? Was it good? Was it kind of rocky? That type of a thing.
You say Peter?
Yep, Peter, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, that's fine. So we're talking about just teamwork right now. I worked for a company doing online sales, and at the beginning of COVID, I was handling our Amazon sales all on my own. And then once COVID hit, when we couldn't have people come in anymore and people couldn't go buy things, it was for a motorcycle gear company. Suddenly I had to share all my responsibilities because the amount of sales we made went up like tenfold. So I went from doing like 20 orders a day to like 200 sometimes and 400 some other days. So it wasn't something I could physically do by myself anymore. And I had to train like a group of people and decide how to divide up responsibilities. And it was a little bit of a challenge since it was the first time doing something like that. But it was definitely a big learning curve for me as far as like establishing responsibilities, adapting like the, I guess, procedures on how to change everything from like a one-person job to multiple people doing it. And honestly, I feel like I learned a lot from that. And I think it is something that you have to consider in a lot of things, is like how many people are doing the job and how you cut it up to divide it into something multiple people can do. So being on the other side of someone just telling me what to do is a really big learning experience. So I really value like being able to kind of do that kind of thing. That was it.
Okay.
Thank you. Jonathan Escobedo.
Yeah. Hey there. Yeah. So my experience, the one experience that I've had with okay, before I went to community college, because this is my second time going to community college, but when I went to school the first time, I was pursuing a degree in game software development, and one of the projects that we did as a team was working with co-working with the game artists, who were all the students who were going in for game art. We worked on a game together, and it was convenient because all of us were a group of friends, so we all knew each other. But one of the it was part of a contest, like just a contest among all of us, so we were able to work together as a team, and we all knew each other as good friends. But what happened was that we would pitch ideas about what our game would be. Ultimately, we went with my idea, where you have to manipulate the main character's weight in order to activate switches and solve puzzles. But from there, what we did is we all everyone had a voice as part of it. Like even though I was a programmer and I didn't have much experience with art, I also was able to talk with my artist friends and be like, hey, so what if you added this instead? Or even as the artists who had no experience with programming, they would talk to us programmers and be like, hey, so what if we added this? What would happen if you added this collision to this part of the level? Or how would it? And basically our experience was that we were good friends and we all worked together. And because of that, we were able to make something that was very cohesive. And even to this day, it's one of the things that group projects I've done that I'm really proud of what we did, because we all worked together and we all listened to each other and communicated to each other effectively what we wanted to do. It was a passion project, yeah. So
awesome. Yeah. And finally, Anne.
Hi, my name's Anne. I'm an environmental engineering major, and I'm also a returning student. So my first attempt in a university was years and years ago. So coming back, it was very interesting. I worked as a retail manager for over 10 years before coming back to school, and working as group projects in class. I definitely learned a lot, because I think the generation gap kind of has a little effect on that. And also, recognizing that everybody brings something to the table, instead of kind of recognizing the strength in some people and then recognizing the weakness, and being able to kind of not manipulate, but kind of place them in different places and place myself and see how myself fit into that group. It was very interesting, learning experience. And it's actually super exciting, because you're really just training your skill to become either a leader, or, if you fit as a team member in this particular group that you're in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share an experience? No. Noah.
Yeah, Noe.
Noah.
Hi
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, for teamwork, when I have a lab assignment for my physics or chemistry class, usually I'll just choose someone who's next to me or sitting next to me, and mainly what we decide on what roles to do is just whoever's the fastest on it, or just knows right away from just reading from, because they'll tell you to read it beforehand before you go to class and do the lab. So yeah, we kind of take turns on doing stuff, because sometimes doing the experiment is fun, so we both kind of want to do it, so we're all right, we'll just sometimes we'll just heat two certain scenarios, we mix chemicals around or whatnot. But I feel if you're comfortable with doing something, just suggest that you could do it, and hopefully they'll listen, and maybe you guys could both agree on stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you. And it looks like we have one more, Wendy.
Wendy, you're muted.
You're muted, Wendy. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
2020.
I have experience in teamwork, both at work and at school. I'm also a returning student, like some of the other people have mentioned. I like all aspects of it, I would say. I've been a lead and a supervisor in different jobs, but I've also been a team member, so under other people. And I think the best part of being a part of a team is that you don't have to do it all on your own, and figuring things out all together. It's a lot easier when you guys figure everything out together. Like that saying, teamwork makes the dream work. I like that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So it sounds like we've had a lot of different good experiences. So Alex, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I was taking some notes. And, oops, my button pushing. Oh well. I was taking some notes. I just want to take a couple of moments here. So we had people that a couple of people that have been part of groups that they all were friends to start with, and it made it easy. That transition to easy. You've had a couple people talk about how you kind of had to feel yourself out for a couple of try to find out what are people's strengths, and sometimes it takes a little while. Actually, I was doing a little bit of research trying to figure out, trying to find a good definition of team norms that I could use. They talked about how team norms can be something that develops over time, but it could also, that is not good. And you can develop bad team norms. And so what we want to do is find a way that if you get you get a group of people that's going to work on a project together who you don't know already, and because that makes it a lot more difficult, and how to get started pretty quickly on creating and sustaining those team norms and moving forward with a project, so you're not trying to spend a whole lot of time going through feeling out who can do what, or and the awkwardness of that first beginning part. So the definition I started or leaned on is that team norms are a set, of rules shaping team members' interactions. Norms establish agreed upon behavior on how the work gets done and team member expectations. So all those things are what we're going to talk about as far as team norms. So let's see here. I always get confused on which keyboard I got pressed because I got two keyboards in front of me here. So the next one is we're going to go through this guided practice part on establishing team norms. So if you can, you guys can go, if you're good at memorizing what's going to be there. If not, here are the steps for this. So first thing that you guys are going to do, hang on here. Here's what I want you guys to do. First thing I want you to do is I want you to think about the time that you were on a member of a team. I'm going to give you, it can be good, it can be bad, however the case may be. I want you to think about that time. I just want you to kind of close your eyes. If you're that, if you need the time to think about it, but I want you to give you guys about a minute to think about it and think about the times you're on that team. Pick a team. About halfway through. All right. Last 10 seconds. Y'all have a time that you were a part of a team, good, bad, ugly, however it may be. All right, next up.
So now that you have that memory in mind, was there something you could have contributed, but you didn't feel comfortable to bring it up to the team? You wanted to say something, but you just didn't feel like you could.
So now here comes the tough part. So I want you to be able to think about that time that you didn't feel comfortable. And I want you to think about writing down one team rule that would have made you feel comfortable to bring up your idea and to write it down. So if you haven't been writing yet, time to write now. If you've never felt that particular comfortness where you always felt like I could present an idea to anybody, anywhere, any shape or time, I want you to try and put yourself in somebody else's shoes to think about what might make it easier for them. Okay, and I want you to write that down. Any questions about this? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write. It's going to be the full 2 minutes. Okay, I want you to think about that and work that through. Okay, if you have a question, speak now. If you don't know what you're doing. All right, you got your 2 minutes, go. So what's going to happen is that you guys should be done. This is your norm. Okay, this is your team norm. I'm going to go back here for a second, if I can remember which computer to push. There we go. And this is this is your team norm. We're going to put you guys in groups. There are 98 people that are in here. So Lisa and I think we're going to get randomly assigned. Lisa, is how this is going to work out. We're going to, no matter how many people get put in there, you guys are now a team, and you guys are now working on a project. Okay, and so it could be any project. It doesn't have to, you don't need to know what it's about, but your guys' job is to create a set of team norms. And I'm going to have Lisa talk about how it's going to work.
So what's going to happen is once you get into your team in the breakout room, you're going to have 8 minutes to share your norms. But before you share out, you need to make sure that within the first 20 seconds, somebody is chosen or volunteers to be the scribe. So they're going to take notes as to what you are saying, what your team norm is. And they're going to write down all the team norms for the whole team as each person shares them. And then when we come back from the breakout room, you're going to share with us. So you're going to share what your, at least probably get to 3 teams, hopefully.
So, right. So, for those of you, so what we want to do is we're going to see how this works out. So, but because this is a larger group than I thought there was going to be, we're going to go ahead and extend it to a full 10 minutes. All right. Okay. And so we'll do a whole 10 minutes. I think that'll work. Yeah, we got plenty of time. And so we'll go ahead and do that. So once you guys get in your room, it's going to go quick. Realize that you're going to have about 10 to 11 people that are going to go through their norms. Okay. If Lisa or I are in the breakout room, okay, we're going to be quiet and just kind of observe. So type of thing. We're not going to give any hints or tricks or anything like that. All right. Any questions about what you're supposed to do once you get into the room? Nope. All right. Well,
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. My audio is kind of being a little choppy. If you could just re-clarify. It was like right during the explanation too.
Sure.
Sorry.
So we're going to throw you into teams. You're going to have 10 minutes, not 8. In the first 20 seconds, we're going to, someone needs to volunteer to be the scribe. That scribe is then going to share their team norm. And then each person then is going to go ahead and share their norm. And the scribe is going to create a list of team norms. Okay?
I understood. Thank you.
All right, great. Any other questions, comments, concerns, gripes, complaints before we send you into oblivion?
Yes, quick question.
Quick answer.
I'm sorry.
And I said quick answer.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. Okay, so the scribe are we gonna type our team norm in the chat box, or do we have somewhere we need to send this to?
No, you're not gonna send it anywhere. So if you're a handwriter, handwrite it. If you're a typer, type it. However that works for you. Each person's different, but somehow it needs to be written down so that it can be shared out later.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. It's a little longer answer than a quick answer, sorry. All right.
Sorry, I just want to say real quick, if you put it in the chat box, once the break room's closed, it'll disappear. So that's not
yeah. Oh, good point. Yep, don't do that. All right, so here we go. If we're all ready, in 3, 2, 1, teleport. And nope, it didn't happen. Hang on, open all rooms. There we go. 3, 2, 1, try now. There you go. You're all invited to join. See ya. So here we go. We're gonna, since there's 9 groups, I'm gonna take volunteers. So if you're a scribe, here we go, scribe. You're gonna volunteer to read your team's list of norms. Okay. Rest of the group, here's this, not just everybody, this means everybody, all your groups combined, all the breakout rooms. I want you to be listening to what the other team is saying. So, and if you hear a norm that was not on your list or not discussed about, borrow it. So write it down, okay? And then write them down, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some volunteers of different breakout rooms. If people don't volunteer, I'll voluntold.
I can start.
All right, go ahead. Which breakout room were you?
Group 3.
Awesome.
So we had a different list of different list of norms with like subtopics. I think what I'll do is I'll just list the major ones.
Sure.
So the first one is knowing who you're working with. The second one is knowing people's strengths and weaknesses, but not only that, also improve on one another. So based on your strengths and weaknesses. Then we had make sure that work is divided evenly between everybody else. Just not letting one person do all the work. Include others. So that kind of goes to the other one, but not leaving anybody else, not leaving anybody out. That's the important part. We had kindness. We think that's a pretty obvious one. Make sure you're kind to everybody. You know, we're all working together, especially when contributing ideas. And because of contributing ideas, we talked about like there's no stupid ideas. Just listen to everybody else and analyze ideas as a group. Then we had keeping an open mind. So I think this goes back with the idea portion again. Just when people have ideas, keep an open mind. Maybe it might work. And then we had ensure deadlines are met, meaning be flexible. So with all this stuff of making sure everybody's doing their work, you also have to ensure that the project actually gets done. And at the very end, we had just double check your work, just as a normal general rule, revise the final result.
All right. Great. Great job.
I can go next for.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was the scribe for the breakout room number 9.
Okay.
And
the one room
yeah,
I
so-
didn't get to. I was trying to get to them all, but the 10-minute timer on my clock ran out. I was like, no.
Oh, okay. So should I?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So our first one was don't be afraid to ask questions, and like no dumb questions. So that way everybody isn't like nobody's afraid to ask a question, and nobody will be disrespectful towards maybe what seemed obvious to someone else isn't obvious for someone else. The second one was responding to every idea with feedback. That way nobody feels like they're being left out. You know, they're getting a response, they're getting feedback, and that way they can take that feedback and move forward with it instead of trying to say the same thing over and over. And then the third one was like throughout the project, I guess, was to set goals, set markers, deadlines, assume roles, and basically to just maintain a level of organization. And we basically at the end I summed it up as like huddles. So like every day you huddle in the morning or you huddle at a certain time of the week and you kind of touch base. What have we gotten done? What do we want to do? And then move forward from there. And then at the end of the day or at the end of the project, do the same thing. For number 4 was to assign roles and for everybody to contribute. And that was mostly just so that, let's say somebody else needs help with their role, something that they're not necessarily good at, they can ask for help, but whoever's giving that help, it's just for help only. So they're contributing or helping them contribute, but it's not so that they can assume that role. It's just so that they can help them perform their role a little easier. And for the fifth one, since we were running out of time, I thought this was a good one considering like it's pretty important, and it was the last thing that we did. Introductions and team building exercises. And someone suggested the name game, or like when everybody gets into a huddle and they hold each other's hands and they have to like untangle themselves.
Mhm.
Like, everybody
Right.
works better with somebody that they are familiar with. So it's pretty important to build some teamwork, and teamwork doesn't just happen out of nowhere.
That is true. All right, we'll take one more.
I could volunteer next.
All right.
Alrighty, so for our team norms, we had for everyone to have a positive attitude, for everyone to be involved, and to include everyone. We also had hold everyone accountable, to never be afraid of failure, letting everyone know exactly what they're doing, find your strengths and weaknesses, find a better platform to speak, for everyone to be respectful, responsible, and be ready all the time. Find out what's working and what's not working. And yeah, that's what we have as a
Awesome.
team.
No, those are all really great, and I'd like to be able to go through everybody's list, except we're only, on the downward side, we only have about 14 minutes left, and so I want to make sure that we get through a couple of things. We have some announcements that we have to go through, but Lisa, I know I said that I was going to do the next part, but did you want to do it?
Sure.
Sure. Oh, I'll do one last thing. The one last thing I was going to let you guys know. Typically, in this exercise, if you're going to have like lots of teams like this, what we do is we'd send you back to the room and go ahead and have you guys do quick 2 minutes worth of stuff and find out which ones you liked or borrowed. As far as that, what would you add to your list to be borrowed from somebody else? But anyway, I will go ahead and have Lisa go next.
Okay, so just like what you guys were talking about, we have at NASA a set of norms, our expected behaviors, and they are posters on the walls very often. And a lot of what you guys were sharing sounds a lot like what we have. So our core values consist of safety, teamwork, and integrity. We commit without compromise to embodying our core values in all that we do. To realize these values, we have defined our set of supporting behaviors for the contractors and civil servants who comprise the JSC community. And I am accountable professionally, technically, and fiscally to my coworkers, my team, my management, and the taxpayers. My chat was in the way.
There you go.
So what are some of our norms specifically? So that was a really good overview, but we have norms like be respectful. And then we have kind of a definition. And then we also have a set of questions that we can ask ourselves as we continue along on our daily lives. So we can ask ourselves, hey, should I have said that to that person? Was that appropriate? And there's a whole set of questions. I'm not going to read them all, but you can at least look at them. So we have respectful, be accountable. That means you're answerable for fulfilling your duties. Be open-minded, be receptive to other people's ideas or what they're going through. Be trustworthy, so act with integrity and honor. Be honest, don't take something that doesn't belong to you. Always maintain ethical behavior. Be a key player. That means you do your part. Don't let other people do your job for you. You do your part and make sure that you're doing your best to fulfill your role. So expected behaviors, effective communication is crucial. If you're not sharing what you know, if you're not sharing, hey, I have a problem here, I'm not sure how to proceed, you're going to have a breakdown in communication, and the whole team is going to have problems. Your project may not get finished. So communication is key. It's the crucial ingredient to practicing all of these behaviors. So if you see something that's not appropriate, you need to say something. If you need help, you need to say something. If somebody else needs help and you don't know how to help them, you both need to say something. With effective communication, we make these behaviors common practice. Communication is a two-way process that requires us to listen and understand at least as much as we speak. So we openly share information and knowledge, focusing on quality, not quantity. So you don't have to do all the talking, but say what needs to be said.
So I want you to think about that for a second. This is what, no, it said JSC in there, but they, they erase it out and put in whatever center you're at, and put those around. So these go out to all the different centers, and they're put up on walls, and these are put on to remind people what our expected behaviors are when we work at NASA. And so what, so I want you to think about that for a second. Be respectful. Hey, you guys said that. Communication. Hey, you guys had that. Accountable. Yep, you guys did that. Be a key player. Yep. All those things in there you have. So shoot, at this point, we just need to go hire y'all and be, and you guys can start up at NASA. You guys came up with that up on your own. And so, but it came together as a team. And I really liked, the team building part of it that you guys talked about. I really like that. I think that, that's something that it would be a key part to be, after you get done with these norms, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a couple of team building activities just for fun. It doesn't have to do with a project, and it will make your team that much better, regardless of whether or not you are doing this for a class or doing this as a big giant project in a corporation. I think that this is something that will be useful to you all. So that's kind of the end, but we also talked about getting involved with NASA and the things that you can do. So here are 4 opportunities that you have. The website for 3 of them is all the same. You can just Google search Microgravity University and it will come up. But the first one is the Mirror Up Innovation. I'm going to close this. Mirror Up Innovation and Technology Transfer Idea Competition, or MITIC. What MITIC is that, I'm not sure if you're aware, but NASA comes up with some really cool ideas and a lot of different patents. Which you also may not be aware is that NASA gives those patents away to people to use and to develop for commercial viable situations, or ways to make it commercial and make money off of. And so what NASA does is, so what this activity does is it gives 6 patents that are currently out there. I think the 6 that they have. And you guys are going to get a team together, find one of those patents, find a way to make it commercially viable, do a paper, do a presentation, and you'll have a great experience doing this. And hopefully, as far as each one, they're changing it up this year as far as the rewards for this, but it's going to be mainly done virtually. But this still gives you a great opportunity to create a paper that will then be judged by NASA people. The next info session for that is September 30th at 2 p.m. Central Time. The other one I'm going to talk about real fast is called MicroG Next. What MicroG Next is an opportunity for you to form a team and make hardware for the International Space Station. So they have 3 or 4 challenges that they are currently having up on station, and they're asking you, the public, if you will, to come up with ideas, and specifically for college-age students, even community college students do this. And so they have 4 challenges. You make the product, and then what's really cool about this is that you would set, if we're still under COVID restrictions, you would still send your product to Johnson Space Center, and the divers down there will test it out in the neutral buoyancy lab, which is our big giant pool that has a 1-to-1 mock-up of the space station in it, and where the crew members practice doing extra vehicle activities or spacewalks. And their next thing is you take a look at their website. Proposals are due October 30th, 2020.
And then we have NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars, or NCAS, which somebody was asking about in the chat. And that is strictly a community college student program. You have to be 18 years old. You have to be enrolled in a community college. You need to have taken 9 or more units of STEM. And there are some other requirements, but it is a teamwork project where you will work in a competition setting. So there are 4 teams in each session, and there's teams of 10 or a little bit more. You can have 11 or 12, but usually teams of 10, and you're thrown together with people you probably don't know, just like here. And you have to come up with a set of norms so that you can work together to complete this project. And at the very end, you present in front of NASA employees. It is an excellent program. That's the program that I work on, so I love it. But right now, our application is open and it closes in November. So if you go to the website at go.nasa.gov/NCAS, you'll see what the program is about and when our next info session is. And then there is NASA SUITS, which stands for Spacesuit User Interface Technologies for Students. And if you haven't heard of Artemis, Artemis is NASA's current mission to send astronauts back to the moon, the first woman and the next man to the moon, to land on the moon in 2024. And one thing that NASA is looking to do is to make communication between the surface of the moon and the NASA Control Center easier for the astronauts. So they want to create a heads-up display within the helmet of the spacesuit. And so basically you would be given parameters. You would be creating, what's it called? Augmented reality. So you're using augmented reality to help ultimately the astronauts communicate. But in this, you're going to be using augmented reality to help them train. So you'd be given a set of limitations and you would actually be working in augmented reality to create this training session. And they actually have an application that's open now as well. But their next info session is September 30th at 5 p.m. Central Time. So all of these times when we work with NASA have to do with Central Time because we're working with our home center in Texas at Johnson Space Center.
So all of them are great activities. I'm also going to type in here about internships because I know a lot of people are going to ask questions about that. Mm-hmm. We do know a little bit about the internships, but all your questions can be answered at intern.nasa.gov. And you can find out there. They're on a rolling application basis. And all of the internships right now are going to be virtual through spring 2021. I don't know how they swung this, but the virtual internships may sound like they're like, but you get a NASA computer that's mailed out to you. You get the normal like security badge that you get to go through and you get to use it to unlock it. It's a complete experience of like you're working at NASA, just like, but from home. So there you go. We only have about 2 minutes left before the time is up. I'm not sure if if you have we can take 1 or 2 questions, but other than that, that's all the information we've got.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No
and
worries.
hopefully we gave you guys a good tool that you can use in any group setting.
Yes. Take
Thank
this
you.
with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The experience was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
you
your
for being
time
here.
too.
No worries. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Thank
good week, both of you.
Thank you, Alex and Lisa.
No problem.
Thank you.
So,